What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Raidcall EMS LAN Finals. This is the grand finals between Rox.KIS and Navi. Navi defeating Mouse, meanwhile Rox.KIS defeated DD as well as Absolute Legends, if I am not mistaken. Or maybe Absolute Legends beat DD and Rox.KIS beat Rat in the Dark. But anyways, Rox.KIS definitely, not gonna lie, had an easier side of the bracket, but they have been performing very, very well recently, ever since they picked up Dread, who did manage to join the team quite recently. And these guys definitely know each other quite well. Dread, remember, used to be on the old DTS with Dendi, and that's pretty much it, since a lot of the old DTS members have left on side Navi. But this should be an interesting grand finals. Both of these teams are from the Central European region, so I imagine they have practiced against each other quite a bit. Both of these teams play rather aggressively, and both of these teams are definitely riding a super hot streak. Rox.KIS have been performing quite well ever since, again, they picked up Dread. Meanwhile, Navi have been looking pretty much back in form. They've won all their matches thus far in this tournament. They have a 4-0 record, and this is a best-of-3 grand finals, so the first team to take 2 games is going to be the winner and will take home $12,000. Meanwhile, the second place team will have to be content with a mere 7K, which is still not too bad of a sum for a tournament, especially in the region that these two teams live in. I don't think the GDP on average for Russia or for Ukraine is necessarily that high. But Navi gonna bat the lifesteal as well as Keeper of the Light. Maybe they have a lot of problems against Rox.KIS's Nyx and Coddle combination. I'm not too sure. I have not actually watched any Rox.KIS games thus far. But Navi gonna pick up the Magnus. Magnus has been pretty much the flavor of the past week. He has been ridiculously popular, and I mean, there's really no reason why he shouldn't be. He has the carry buffing ability, he has Shockwave, he can control the mid lane, he has the best ultimate in the game, he does a lot of damage, he's reasonably tanky, and he just has so much teamfight lockdown, it is absolutely insane. And I imagine Navi want to probably pair this with something like a Lone Druid so they can get that Empower Bear combination. Meanwhile, Rox is going to take up the Gyrocopter as well as Darkseer. First time we've seen Darkseer in this tournament, at least in the games that I've casted, as Navi is going to pick up the Lone Druid as well as the Nyx, so not only does Magnus have a really strong teamfight, if he buffs up the bear, you can sort of just send the bear to go to work on the towers, and it'll just be really, really annoying for Navi, or for Rox.KIS to defend it. I mean, Darkseer and Gyrocopter don't really get the best damage going until later on in the game, and Darkseer, I guess, will probably be in the offlane in this situation. Navi, we'll see how they decide to lane it. Keep in mind the only tri-lane hero that they have at the moment is Nyx, who is probably going to be piloted by Kuroki once again.
5 seconds remaining.
But meanwhile, Rox.KIS definitely have some teamfight element themselves, and they picked up the Rubik as well to deny from Navi, as well as getting that potential to steal the RP. Even stealing something like an Impale is quite powerful. Keep in mind, Impale at 2.77 second duration stun is quite a long duration in an AoE that can be spammed much more easily. And if you have the Darkseer Vacuum, it'll be pretty easy to help set up that Impale, so Rubik is definitely a solid choice. The only problem for Rox.KIS is that they don't really have any reliable burst damage at the moment. I mean, Gyrocopter sort of has to be up close in your face. Kaladin is the most reliable nuke. Rocket Barrage can sort of splash. Darkseer doesn't necessarily do much burst damage. And Navi have picked up quite a tanky lineup, so that's the only thing I'm a bit concerned about for Rox.KIS. But again, their teamfight synergy with Vacuum as well as Calldown and the Flat Cannon, as well as with the Fade Bolt and the Ion Shell, is quite immense. And they can definitely take teamfights much more frequently than Navi, because even though reverse polarity is quite spammable at only 100-second cooldown at level 3, it is still 100 seconds. Meanwhile, the longest cooldown ultimate on the side of Rox.KIS is the Wall, which is 100-second cooldown. But other than that, you can pretty much seek for fights, because it's not always a necessity to fight when the Wall is up. Or down, anyways. Rox.KIS, I think they've probably been paying attention to the tournaments. They know that Navi has been loving to run that Juggernaut recently, as we've seen in both of the games thus far, at least in the games that I've casted. Now you get about the Leshrac, recognizing that Rox.KIS might need some damage, and one of the ways to beat a bear is to push down other towers, so you can sort of force the bear back and to sort of buy some time, because Gyrocopter in the ultra late game should be able to take down the bear, because Gyrocopter does have the capability to go to the Rapier. Navi getting about the Silencer. Maybe they've scrimmed against Rox.KIS before, and that might be one of their pet heroes. Meanwhile, Rox.KIS getting about the Chen, eliminating some jungle presence, as well as alleviating some of the pressure that Navi could potentially apply with a massive push strategy. And Juggernaut and Chen definitely bring those two elements to the table. One thing that might be a little bit awkward for Navi is right now they have 3 melee heroes, so if something like a clock was picked up by Rox.KIS, that could be proving to be very annoying, but Darkseer will probably go in the off lane. Magnus, he's not really that big of a melee hero because he has Shockwave to get himself in the middle lane, and Lone Druid isn't melee until he morphs into true form, so I guess sort of scratch that point. But still, Navi always want to group up as 5, and if Rox.KIS can potentially get the split push going, they could find a way to deal with Navi, or if they try to sort of overpower Navi in the teamfight game, because right now the only major teamfight ability is that RP, as Phantom Lancer is getting better on Navi. Maybe they're predicting that Gyrocopter could be potentially played as support or as a potential mid laner, but I think Gyrocopter will be played as a carry. It's more likely that Navi just does not want to face against Phantom Lancer in general, just because, again, if you split push long enough, Phantom Lancer will be able to overpower Magnus as well as Lone Druid. Beyond Rox.KIS, gonna bout another jungle support in the form of Enchantress, again mitigating that support jungle push and really taking away two of Puppy's trademark heroes, but Navi still to pick up a support as well as a potential safe lane farmer if they don't put Lone Druid in the safe lane. So they're gonna pick up Bane. Right now, Navi lacking a bit in terms of damage, but they do have some nice ganking setup. They have Nightmare, and Magnus will be able to sort of maneuver himself behind the mid lane hero that Rox.KIS does put in, skewer the hero back to the tower, and do a lot of damage. So Navi definitely has some potential roaming options. So Bane does give you that element. Also, if Navi choose to pick up an aggressive carry, they could potentially go aggressive tri-lane. But again, Bane doesn't really have the longest attack range, so other than magical burst damage, he won't really have the most sort of physical harassment to help back it up. So I think Navi are going to do a safe tri-lane, they're not going to go aggressive, and I don't imagine Rox.KIS are going to go aggressive either. But Rox.KIS taking their time, perhaps trying to decide on which mid hero they want to pick. They probably want to pick up something that can survive against Magnus. Queen of Pain is probably the best option right now, just because she's more mobile. But again, if she's caught with the Nightmare, if this magical damage is sufficient, she will get bursted down. So maybe they want to get a bit more of a tanky mid. They're going to pick up the Clockwork, which again, I did sort of allude to earlier, because Navi will eventually have 3 melee heroes once that Lone Druid does go into melee form. And Clockwork can help stall the push, because if you place those cogs on the hill with Navi's initiation, I mean, they only have one initiator in the form of the Magnus, so the Clockwork cogs will prove to be very, very annoying. Clockwork can also defend reasonably well, can give them a solid form of initiation. If you manage to catch Magnus, disable his dagger with a rocket flare, or go into him with a hook, that could really mess up Navi's team fight. And of course, the mini stuns make just Bane's life really, really difficult when he's trying to channel that Fiend's Grip. So I like what Rox.KIS is doing. They have a lot of sort of ways to deal with Navi's lineup, but right now their early game is quite weak, as Navi going to pick up the Queen of Pain, so it's not going to be a Dendy mid-solo Magnus. This is actually going to be an off-lane Magnus, or maybe a safe lane Magnus. No, it's going to be a tri-lane Magnus. What am I talking about? It's probably going to be a Lone Druid safe lane, and Navi might run an aggressive tri-lane with a Magnus. I'm not too sure how exactly they're going to do this. Oh, God. Sometimes I amaze myself. It's probably going to be a safe lane Magnus, Lone Druid off lane, and then the two supports will roam around.
10 seconds remaining.
Meanwhile, Rox.KIS, they have Darkseer, who could potentially go mid lane, and against Queen of Pain, should be able to fare reasonably well. Queen of Pain can't really ever kill the Darkseer because he has Surge to escape from a lot of difficult situations. He can always keep the wave push because Ion Shell does do more harassment, just because it's a constant duration and a constant damage source, other than Queen of Pain, who does a lot of burst damage, but really can't keep the creep wave pushed as much as Darkseer can in the early stages of the game. So I think it will be a Darkseer mid lane for Rox.KIS. If they put Gyrocopter as well, that could be an option. Gyrocopter most likely be the safe lane. Clockwork will probably be the off lane. So Rox.KIS looking to get a support unless they do decide to run a support Gyrocopter right here, which is an option with the Rubik because you have telekinesis into the rocket barrage, which does do a lot of damage just because telekinesis immobilizes the target for quite a long duration. But that's not really the most reliable setup, and Gyrocopter is going to be quite useful in the late game against the Lone Druid, the Magnus, and the Nyx. So Rox.KIS probably thinking of what support they want to go for right about now if they do decide to put Darkseer mid lane. Again, they could potentially run a Dignitas style draft where they put Clockwork as support, put Darkseer off lane, and try to pick up mid lane themselves, but they're going to have to pick up a mid lane that could potentially survive the roaming ganks of Bane, and they're going to pick up Warlock. Really interesting choice by Rox.KIS, and this is going to give them immense amount of team fight, and I'm really liking Rox.KIS's lineup. They have tanky heroes, they have a lot of damage, they have team fight. The only problem is, again, the early game DPS is not too threatening, but Navi's lineup does take a while to get going. Funnick wants to get his money going for the Dagger Arcane Boots. Havost Lone Druid isn't really the fastest carry to get going, but once it gets going, it is very difficult to stop. NA and Bane will probably be starved for experience. Queen and Pain, she'll be the main problem, so it's going to be a lot of pressure on Dendi. But once it comes down to the teamfight execution, Rox.KIS should have an edge as long as they can sort of eliminate Magnus from the edge of the fight, because other than the Queen of Pain, where's the burst damage from Navi going to come from? And Rox.KIS picked up a lineup that's very, very tanky, and they have a lot of mechanism carriers in the form of the Darkseer, as well as potentially the Warlock. So one of the people could get a pipe, one of the people can get a mech, and this lineup is going to be pretty difficult to bring down.
Prepare for battle.
And again, Navi like to clump up, they like to group up as 5, and Warlock is probably the best 5v5 hero, or at least one of the best 5v5 heroes in the game because of his ultimate, as well as the Fatal Bonds, which helps amplify the DPS by a immense amount. And if you sort of couple the Fatal Bonds with the Call Down or the Fly Cannon, that'll just give so much extra DPS that Navi will inevitably melt no matter how tanky they get. So I'm really liking Rox.KIS's draft. It's definitely a very, very smart draft. The burst damage will be an issue in the early stages of the game, but as long as they can weather the storm, they should be okay. But me all introducing the players of the teams, we're going to have BZZ playing the Gyrocopter, Dread is playing the Darkseer, Solo is playing the Warlock, Vanscore is playing the Rubik, and Yol is playing the Clockwork. Me on the side of Navi, we're going to have Puppy playing the Bane, Havost is playing the Lone Druid, Denti is playing the Queen of Pain, Kuroki is playing the Nyx, and Funnick is going to be playing the Magnus. So yeah, interesting. It's not going to be an off-lane Lone Druid. They're going to put Lone Druid in safe lane. They're going to run an aggressive Trident with the Magnus. I thought that they might do Magnus off lane or Magnus safe lane and have the two supports on Navi roam, but they're going to throw Lone Druid a little bit to the wolves, and this is really to secure Magnus, because if you saw in the last game with Mouse, you saw that the Magnus, if he's kept down, he really just doesn't have that nearly as big an impact as you can sort of expect, but if you get Magnus's farm, you can sort of expect him to have a really significant teamfight presence. So Navi putting their Trident in the aggressive position is definitely going to be helpful, but no, they're going to bend that, perhaps predicting Rox.KIS to go in aggressive Trident themselves, but it is going to be Magnus left to the wolves, so again, my original lane prediction is correct, so just flip-flopping a bit, as this Sentry Ward, not going to spout this Observer Ward, really clever placement of this Observer Ward by the side of Rox.KIS. Dread going to be pushed away, but really doesn't have much to fear, and Lone Druid really can't force the harassment, as the Bear stacking out some creep waves, making sure that the Gyrocopter are going to take a lot of physical DPS, but he's not pulling them to Funnick, interestingly enough. I guess he really fears for the Bear's life, but right now this Bear is just running in circles as a poor man shield, which is mitigating a lot of DPS, but that's really good against hero DPS, as the Bear is going to probably pull a third wave soon. When is Havost going to micro the Bear back to the tower? Well, he probably shared control with Funnick, because Havost has concentrated on last hitting. Meanwhile, Funnick isn't really doing too much. And Dread going to retreat back into the jungle. Meanwhile, Dendi putting on a lot of pressure. Warlock should not really die in this lane. He has Shadow Ward to help keep up his HP, and does a decent amount of harassment with the Fatal Bonds. But yeah, I'm not too sure why Funnick isn't microing the Bear back to his tower at this point. I guess he really fears for the life of the Bear from the supports rotating in. But now he does have some vision on the map. As you can see, Vanscore actually forced a D-ward, as a fourth wave is going to be stacked up. He might end up losing the Bear right about now, as the Bear is going to be resummoned, going to get pulled back, and now it's going to push in. Wow. So a massive creep wave coming for Rox.KIS. So I guess that's one way to get experience, because this creep wave will completely overpower this wave, but I don't know, Funnick I feel like can be potentially dove upon very, very easily, especially the Clockwork with the cogs. If Gyrocopter just gets 1 point in the homing missile, that could be very, very useful, but instead you got the second point in the flat cannon. As Rox.KIS desperately trying to get a pull going, but can't really pull all of the creeps, as just a massive army of creeps going to the bomb lane. It's going to push the lane to Funnick's very, very soon, but If the supports are smart, they should just be easily able to push back Funnick away from the tower. Meanwhile, I missed the first blood, enthralled by this creep wave. So I guess we'll see how it happens very, very soon. I'm just gonna rewind again. So Dendy actually trying to get the kill on Solo, but we're going to see Dread rotate in. Dendy in a lot of trouble. His Blink is on cooldown. Fatal Bonds doing additional damage. And you can see Warlock attacking that range creep. Dread does pick up the first one. No, Solo picks it up. And you never want to give a Warlock too much farm. If you get to fast Aghanims, considering Navi has no natural diffuse blade carries, this could be quite difficult. And you can see the supports rotating in. And Funnick is going to be pressured out of the lane. I'm not too sure why they stacked 4 creep waves, but Navi's definitely going to pay the price right here. You're going to see Fable fly in as Funnick is going to get lifted up into the air. Gonna miss a skewer as really nice placed telekinesis by Vanscore, as that is going to allow them to escape, and the Rain going to lose their tower immediately. And this creep wave is showing no signs of letting up. The 5 range creeps do immense amount of damage to other creeps as the bear is going to be summoned. Havost sacrificing his bear as he is going to be forced to last hit under his tower. And keep in mind, Funnick, still just level 1. He has no mana for Shockwave. You can't really stop the creep wave, and Bane is the worst AoE support in the game. All of his abilities are single target. Funnick just now managed to level 2 as they managed to pull the creep wave all the way back to their tier 3, but they're taking constant barrage from the Rocket Flare. At least this way they will get some experience, but you can see Rox.KIS doing the appropriate response, focusing that fire onto the tier 2 tower. Really weird, interesting strategy by Navi, but I don't know if it's going to work out that well. They lost their tier 1 tower on the bottom lane extremely early on, and all they're going to get in exchange is maybe level 3 or 4 on Funnick. I don't know if that's worth it in the long run. Especially since Funnick has only picked up 1 last hit, really just being pressured down by the creeps really, really hard. And Puppy actually might have to juke these creeps for quite a bit. This is so crazy. You can definitely see where Navi was coming from with the strategy, but I guess 4 creep waves being stacked up is just a bit too much. But I guess if you only stack 2 creep waves, then the supports on the side of Rox.KIS, if they execute the pull, they could have denied those waves anyway. So maybe that strategy by Navi was just not going to work out either way. But anyways, we're seeing the drawbacks of an offlane mag. No doubt about that. This tier 2 tower might potentially fall. Keep in mind, Glyph is already on cooldown as the tower is in deny range, and actually Rox.KIS is going to bend this, as maybe they're not anticipating Navi to deny it, but Rox.KIS is going to venture a bit forward. Bane is going to come in with the Nightmare as the Rocket Barrage is going to do a lot of damage. Navi is going to get denied. No! The damage by Magnus is too low in the early game because the tower has too much armor. Gyrocopter managed to get the last hit, and gets 500 additional gold. That is a worst case scenario for Navi, as they're going to lose so much gold. Puppy not able to get his roams going because he constantly has to defend, and so far Navi just getting, I think they might, I don't know if they're necessarily getting outplayed, but their strategy is not being executed very well, as Dread's going to take an Entangle, but keep in mind Entangle does have a cooldown, so that bear not going to get another Entangle that soon. The only bright spot for Navi is that Avost is free farming, has 35 CS in 5 minutes, so averaging well over 6 CS a minute. I think he's only missed 1 or 2 CS, so this is pretty much top of the food chain farm. And meanwhile, Kurogi with some pulls has been able to hit level 3 as Dread forced to retreat, being very scared of the bear, as well as he should. But Dread is level 5 himself. Keep in mind he did help out in that first blood gank against Dendy, and Dendy, having died to that first blood, one of the things about Warlock is that he's just so annoying. You can't really leave him alone, because if he manages to get the farm, if he manages to get the experience, if he gets that fast Aghanims, he'll just become such a nuisance. Because Aghanims Warlock, again, wins team fights like very few other heroes in the game, because the immolate damage stacks, his fatal bonds help amplify the immolate damage, 2 rocks clawing at you with immense amounts of damage from the flaming fists, as well as that normal attack damage is just going to be utterly unstoppable. Meanwhile, BZZ just free farming it up on the bottom lane, picked up the Helm Dominator, so maybe trying to stack some Ancients. You can see he actually sent a creep to his own Ancient Spawn. He is going to be stacking those creeps. Interesting that went for Helm Dominator, but again, I do feel like Rox.KIS had the late game advantage because they have that Warlock as well as the Gyrocopter, who always has that danger of going a Rapier. Even though, again, I never bet against a team with the RP, but Queen of Pain's burst damage will become a lot less effective, and it's going to be a while before she picks up the sheep, just because she did die. You can see just managed to pick up a magic stick as well as those boosts of speed, despite out farming the Warlock in the middle lane. Meanwhile, Yol rotated to the top lane, and they managed to push away Havos for the time being. This is going to delay Havos' farm by quite a bit. And by quite a bit, I mean for all of 2 seconds, as Tavos is just going to resummon his bear back to full HP. But this is going to just allow Gyrocopter to continue to free farm because the supports are constantly, or the supports of Navi are constantly there to try to help out Havos because they know Havos is the only one who's having a good time in this game thus far, and they want to make sure that Havos continues to have a good time. You know, Funnick trying to sap whatever experience he can possibly get. Actually managed to pick up 400 gold, so those levels and those last hits helping him get halfway to his arcane boots. This is actually a little bit faster than what you can expect from offlane Magnuses, but still, losing 2 towers for level 4 Magnus and halfway to his arcane boots, probably not worth it. As Solo actually went for Treads. Warlock is quite a mana-intensive hero, as his Fatal Bonds, his Shadow Ward, and his Chaotic Offering do cost a lot of mana, as Dread is going to get first to entangle. The Cog's going to be used to try to push away the Lone Druid, as Dread should be able to escape Surge at a sufficient enough duration. Level 2 Surge is able to escape the wrath of the bear, who all he wanted was a hug, just eagerly swiping away. But yeah, Tread's interesting. It helps to increase his DPS, and you can use Tread Switch to, of course, give you a bit more mana regen. And Treads is 50 gold cheaper than Arcanes, but still, usually Warlock, I think, likes to get the Arcane Boots. I can't remember what Dignitas usually like to run on their Warlock. And Empire like to run Warlock quite a bit as well. Virtus Pro. This is a decent Central European pick, as I've seen a lot of teams from the Russian region run this hero quite often. Or more often than other teams, at the very least. Meanwhile, Funnick has just managed to hit level 5, and now he can start Shockwave spamming a bit more freely. His Seer has a longer range, so he can get out of more sticky situations, and Funnick is starting to get his mojo rolling. And meanwhile, Havost is still the top farmer in the game. Warlock being a very immobile hero, probably the worst ganking mid hero that you can possibly play in the game, just because he's not a strong ganker. Is a very strong counter ganker, but his ultimate has such a long cooldown, and actually Dendy gonna wrap around looking for a pickoff on Yol, who's just trying to get some experience. I like what they're doing a lot, Rox.KIS, because they know Darkster can go to the jungle and Clockwork does want levels, so they are just gonna use him to potentially sap a bit of experience if Havos goes a bit too aggressive with his bear push. Meanwhile, Funnick just sneaking around as well, trying to sap whatever experience he can possibly get, as there is going to be engaged in. Puppey going to be ransacked by that Chaotic Offering. Puppey does have the boost of speed, so he is going to run quite quickly away, as Bane, again, has higher than average base movement speed. Meanwhile, Queen of Pain trying to get the heck out of dodge. Impale Wisp, but Dendy is able to escape, and that is a significant victory for Navi, not losing any heroes at the price of a 165-second cooldown ultimate. They might lose a tower where it's going to be a lot more difficult for Navi to stomach, but overall they should be pleased because they can't use the ultimate to gank Havost. They can't use the ultimate to sort of gank the Magnus, and that ultimate, they're not going to have to worry about it for quite a long time. Meanwhile, the tower trying to be defended to the best of its ability, but Navi doesn't really have the strongest counter-pushing mechanisms in place in this game. Nothing like a Keeper Light, nothing like a Clockwork Rocket or a Puck. Their nukes are quite short range, other than the Magnus, who's trying to get his farm on the bottom lane. So Rox.KIS picking up their third tower of the game only 10 minutes into the game, as they must be very pleased. They've managed to get the last hit on every single tower, or not their heroes, but none of their towers have been denied just yet, as Gyrocopter are going to clear up a giant ancient stack. This is going to help fuel his gold intake by quite a bit, as he's just going to be used. Oh, I guess they want to stack that once more as their mouse spazzes out, but I think they mistimed that by just a bit. And meanwhile, just gonna watch the Gyrocopter gold starting out about 1050. We'll see what he ends up after this ancient stack is cleared.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Beyond Navi, they know the Chaotic Offering is down. This might be the cue for them to play a bit more aggressively. As you can see, Gyrocopter gonna pick up 700 to 800 gold. He still has to clear out one more Black Dragon, which is another 200 gold. So he's going to end up with around 1800 gold when all is said and done. Actually, he's going to pick up 1000 gold from this ancient spawn camp and give his supports a lot of experience in the meanwhile. This is quite significant. Meanwhile, on the top lane, because the supports were missing for so long, they aren't going to engage on Dread, but Dread just so difficult to lock down. Again, the only reliable stunts are the RP, the Bane Nightmare, and the Fiend Script, as well as the Nyx Impale, and Bane I don't think is even level 6, only level 4, and Puppey just forced to constantly switch lanes is really not having a good time of this thus far. Bane does want his levels because, I mean, an underleveled Bane really can't do too much. He can't get the Empower going on the Gyrocopter, he can't get that pure damage of the Brain Sap, and he can't channel that Fiend Script. So I feel like Navi are in a really desperate situation. The only thing, again, that's going for them is Havos, but Havos is a bear, and I mean, there's only so much one bear can do. The good thing for Navi is that Funnick's been able to recover quite nicely as he's been able to get uninterrupted free farm in the bottom lane. If he's able to pick up a reasonable timing on the dagger, maybe around 16, 17 minutes, that should be able to allow Navi to potentially take another engagement, but meanwhile, the Warlock, this is what I'm most worried about for Navi. His ultimate is back online. He's approaching that level 11 quite rapidly, and that means he'll have that higher level fail bonds, have that more powerful golem that's more difficult to bring down. And he is going to go for that Staff of Wizardry. Could be a 4-staff. I think it might be the start of an Aghanims, although he might have been able to pick up the point booster instead if he was choosing to go with that build. Meanwhile, Dandy applying pressure, and again, it's difficult for a Queen of Pain to gank this lineup because everybody inside of Rox.KIS is quite tanky. The only non-tanky heroes are Rubik and Gyro, but you can expect that those two heroes will always be together. And Dandy's Queen of Pain definitely does not have the burst edge to contest a Treads Warlock, even a Clockwork with Strength Treads. Meanwhile, Darkseer is naturally quite tanky. His Artificial Mechanism, Rox.KIS looking very, very strong at this point in the game. Havost making his way towards that armlet. Should that have that up reasonably soon. And with that, that might be the key for Navi to attempt to push Funnick, continue to get that farm going on that middle lane as Rocket Barrage constantly clearing out the creep wave, preventing Navi from pushing in anytime soon as Gyrocopter continuing to stack Ancients, gets himself a double damage rune for his troubles, and will be more than happy to snatch up those Ancients. Picked up a Yasha, so not going the Shadow Blade build, instead going for more of a team fight, having Gyrocopter rather than split push Gyrocopter, which definitely makes a lot of sense when you have a Warlock in your ultimate. You just want to overpower the other team with your immense teamfight capabilities. And Gyrocopter, with that Yasha, will give him more constant move speed, and will help him build towards that Manta, which is going to be quite useful. As no, I guess he's going to go... He could be going for S and Y, but I think this might just be Yashin to BKB. And once the BKB is finished on the Gyrocopter, it's going to be difficult for Navi because, again, Bane still is only level 4, and you can see what Navi's doing. They want to have Bane hit level 6, that's why they're going to sacrifice a bit of the lane so that Bane can potentially get that level 6. And Rox.KIS not going to contest this. They don't have the strongest ganking heroes other than Clockwork, but they don't need to. They have a really, really powerful 5-man lineup. And while Puppey's farming on the top lane, Rox.KIS is going to choose this moment to apply pressure, and this is going to force a rotation by Puppey, further delaying his level 6. But if Navi can defend this, this will be very instrumental getting the support level 6 and getting Funnick even closer to that dagger. But Funnick actually gets hooked in by here comes the Fatal Bonds as well as the Rock ultimate. Funnick is going to end up dying. The wall and the cooldown just doing immense amounts of damage as Havos is going to get sucked back in by the Rubik, who managed to steal the RP. A worst case scenario fight for Navi as they lose their two highest impact heroes in the game, other than the Queen of Pain, I guess. And Rox.KIS is going to take the middle tier 2 tower as well. And this is actually looking quite good from Navi. All they have left is one outer tier tower, and they can't really defend this without Funnick being alive. But because this is still very early on in the game, Funnick going to respawn with full mana. Going to use the Shockwaves to try to clear out the CS, but the Shadow Word being applied to the Golem. This is still a level 1 Warlock ultimate, so his Golem is not as tanky as it could possibly be. So Rox.KIS, rather than playing it too greedily, just gonna back off, saying we won the team fight, we got what we came for, which was the tier 2. And we got 2 kills on top of that, so we've got to be pretty pleased with how this game is going thus far. Gyrocopter is gonna go for that BKB. Rubik went for an Urn of Shadows, trying to get that extra healing in case they need to have extra healing for the team fight, but they already have Warlock. Meanwhile, Warlock gonna go for that Aghanim, picked up the point booster as Navi gonna look to push in. They have the Armlet Fish on the bear, and more importantly, the Warlock Golem is on cooldown as Solo is invisible. No Sentry Ward is in place. Actually, that is a Rox.KIS Sentry Ward as Solo trying to get in position, trying to land a 5-man Fatal Bonds. And Rox.KIS, are they looking for the engagement? They know RP is still down because Rubik RP still has 25 seconds left on it. As Clockwork looking to initiate, they are gonna get an entangle on the Gyrocopter, taking a Sonic Wave as well. Dendy try to do as much damage as possible, but Solo picking up a kill. Funnick is going to get destroyed as well. Puppey will be picked off in the ensuing retreat, and Upheaval adding insult to injury might spell the end of Avost. The battery is canceling that teleport. Avost is going to die. It's 7-0. Navi is looking absolutely dominated, and they're going to call it a 17-minute GG. Holy smokes. Rox.KIS destroying Navi in this game. But I gotta say a couple things. Even though this is a 17-minute GG, I don't know if Navi necessarily played it bad. I think their draft wasn't really that good. Rox.KIS, I think, thoroughly outdrafted Navi, and the bear losing 2 towers in the span of 4.5 minutes was just really not a good idea by Navi. That just gave so much extra gold for the side of Rox.KIS, gave so much items for the supports, and gave a lot of room for the Gyrocopter to roam in, get his farm going. Mila Havost is going to be inevitably pressured. I think what it came down to was the draft, as well as that 2-tower mishap that happened on the bottom lane, as Navi drafted very greedily. They picked up basically all of their heroes. Needed a lot of experience and a decent amount of farm, except for the Bane and the Nyx, I guess. But I mean, they definitely benefit quite a bit from farm as well. And meanwhile, Rox.KIS exploited that, as they were definitely surprised when Havost was stacking the waves, but they used that to their advantage. They saw the massive creep wave go in for that bottom tier 1 and just rolled with it. So Navi gonna fall 0-1 in this best of 3 series. One more loss and they're gonna be out of this tournament, and they are only gonna go home with $7,000 as Navi is still not disconnected. I'm actually gonna fast forward through this replay.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant's Radiant victory.
But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all very soon.